All right, guys, good day and God bless. Welcome to the Hub Podcast, your home for health, fitness, and wellness. I'm your host, Dwayne Lee Jr., checking in for episode 2 of the Hub Podcast. Before we get started with today's episode, I just want to shout out everyone who took a listen, liked, commented, shared the first episode, What's Your Why? It's definitely been a goal of mine for a long time to get a forum, get information out to my community. And if you took part and listened to last week's episode or are currently listening, you're definitely a part of that community now. So I want to say thank you to you for sure. All right. Now that the savvy stuff's over, let's get today's episode started. The first segment is brought to you by Hub Fitness LLC. I think the hardest thing about podcasting is trying to find a way to keep interacting with you guys so it's not me just spitting out a lecture at you. All right, so today's game, we're going to play Would You Rather, okay? Today's Would You Rather, all right, dealing with exercise. I know the gyms aren't open right now, but just imagine. Would you rather exercise in the same clothes every day, obviously unwashed, right? That's what's going to make it difficult. Unwashed clothes, same ones every day, or be unable to listen to music while exercising, all right? You guys hit me up, let me know. Hit up any of the social media sites, Train with Dwayne on Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter, and let me know what your answer is for Would You Rather. Obviously, I think my choice is pretty clear. I still would hate not listening to music just because I love to get that motivational song to give you that extra, oomph. But I couldn't imagine, as much as I sweat, wearing the same clothes every single time. That would just be terrible. So I'm going to go ahead and say I would definitely just be unable to listen to music, and I'll be able to sing my favorite songs to myself. Now, if I took that ability away from me, I would probably just go crazy, and this would be really, really tough to answer, okay? Now, let's get back to the focus here. Today's main focus is we're going to talk about our habits and routine when it comes to fitness itself, okay? So I think this episode was inspired by just talking to clients every day, having to deal with some of the same conversations. Clients that tell me, hey, I want to lose weight, but I just can't get my eating in order. Or I want to come to your boot camp, but I just don't have time. Or my personal favorite, I'll just work out on my own. Like they haven't been doing that for the past however many years, right? And I think that inspired me to go ahead and make this episode so that way I can answer some of those questions and maybe offer some help as to what people actually need to do. So the first question is that we have to throw out there: why don't humans like change? And the real first answer, scientifically speaking, is what we call homeostasis. Homeostasis. Homeostasis is, if I look at the definition here, relatively stable equilibrium. To put this in a very, very easy way for you to understand, think of your thermostat at home. You set it, you forget it, and pretty much it tries to not allow your house to get too hot or too cold, too above that temperature that you set for your home, right? Well, the body is pretty much the same way. A couple of things we could point out so you can see the similarities. When you sweat is actually heat regulation to bring you back down to a cooler temperature, okay? Breathing, right? When you're breathing hard during a workout, right? That's to get your blood oxygen levels back to normal capacity, okay? Kind of to catch you up, what we call your oxygen debt, things like that. Even something as simple as thirst. Thirst is trying to make sure your blood volume stays pretty much around where it normally is and make sure you have enough water in your body, since the body is 70% water, right? So those are three things that want to keep you the same. And homeostasis is what that's about. So we don't like getting out of that zone, that homeostasis. We want to stay right at that level that we normally are, wherever our thermostat normally is. And we don't like getting out of that too much, okay? Now that we have some basic general understanding of some of the science and stuff like that, let's dive a little bit more into the psychology of why we don't really like to change, and also see what some of these studies that I've been researching and things like that says about our habits and our routines. So I got pulled up here according to the American Journal of Psychology. Let's start with the definition of habits. Habits are defined as a more or less fixed way of thinking, willing, or feeling acquired through previous repetition of mental experience. It also continues, habitual behavior often goes unnoticed in persons exhibiting it because a person does not need to engage in self-analysis. All right, so we got a little deep there, right? Just getting into some more psychology a little bit as well too. But let's sum this up really quickly by saying your habits are based on what you practice day in and day out, okay? The difference between a habit and a routine, though, is a habit is driven by what we call an external cue. So, for instance, you smell your armpit, that armpit stinks, you go to take a shower, right? That's an external cue. And your habit should tell you, hey, it's time to go take a shower or it's time to go wash your butt, right? Now, when it comes to exercise, let's try to flip this over to how those habits driven in exercise. One day we realize, hey, we're not working out. So our body sees muscle and our normal metabolism as a luxury, something that we don't really need because we're not using it, right? So pretty much it's going to start using the muscle mass that we have and eating that up for energy just to survive the day to day. It's going to start diminishing the metabolism so it's not using up so much energy for the body, right? So that's what happens when somebody's inactive for a long time. And when we look at our body and we're upset that thermostat never changed, it's because we never really ramped it up. It's because we never turned it up, right? So that's pretty much our faults. All right, now let's get into the next word that was used there, routine. So according to Merriam-Webster's definition, routine is defined as a regular course of procedure, habitual or mechanical performance of an established procedure. Now, the word I highlighted here was the word established, and I put it in all bold letters just to make sure that I emphasize established here. If we really break down what that means, when we establish something, we have to take some thought into it. We can't just passively allow that to happen. We actively have decided, hey, we're going to establish some kind of structure here. We're going to put something to this. Now, whether you want to or not, you could also passively have a routine established, meaning that, hey, I didn't really take this serious and this is just what I do. So that can passively happen. I will say that. But I think for the most part, when we break down and look at ourselves, this is something that takes a little bit of thought on ourselves. We have to put a little bit more of our mindset into it to actually follow through with establishing a routine, okay? I think right there, a place for me to take a small break and deliver this message from our show sponsor, Perfect Plate LLC. With all the hustle and lack of time in our lives today, we rarely have time to take care of ourselves, let alone make a good meal. Perfect Plate allows us to have a nutritious home-cooked meal while also saving us time and effort. Eat delicious, eat clean, eat perfect with Perfect Plate LLC. All right, guys, back to work here. We're talking about the importance of our habits and our routines in our daily fitness journeys, okay? We learned that habits are like more unconscious decisions that we make every day based on how we're practicing. And we're learning that routines, although they can be pretty active or passive depending on how you approach them, obviously when it comes to a fitness journey, we need to be more active in selecting our routine and making sure that we're constantly pruning and refining our routine to make sure it fits into our goals so that we can get to where we want to be and continue to progress as well too, okay? So my second question of the day, just to kind of focus in on a select group and kind of narrow it down here. What person are you? Are you the person that's actively continuing to prune and refine your routine, or are you the person that's more just let it flow and just passively letting things pass you by as well too, okay? And we'll kind of get back to why that matters in a second here, but first let's talk about a study that I read from the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine that shows that forming routines can definitely take a long time, right? And obviously that's going to be different for every single person that's hearing this message and every single person in the world, okay? This particular study was talking about what we call adherence strategies for long-term healthcare patients. So people that have cancer, heart disease, kidney failure, liver failure, things like that. How are they coping and how are they successful in building routines and habits that help them get to a better place in their health and also, kind of help them also to cope with a lot that's going on inside their bodies and also outside as well too. So one of the things I always hear people say, kind of a couple of things I hear clients say consistently is that they want to just stop something cold turkey. Or obviously we have the people that make the New Year's resolution. Or my favorite is the person that says, you know what, I'll just start on Monday. I missed this Monday. It's Tuesday. I'm going to start next Monday. Okay. What we've learned is that if you really want to achieve your long-term goal and your destination, it's really hard to take this kind of approach, just to all of a sudden cease and just start a whole new routine. Okay. What that study shows is that 50% of Americans that make these resolutions, right? So right now we have about 330 million people in America. 50% of the population actually still makes New Year's resolutions. Less than 10% of those people actually follow through with their resolution for at least 6 months. Okay, so that's just half the year. And when it gets to the full year, it's way less than that as well too. Okay, so at my current gym where I am a space rent trainer, and I also work some of the group fitness classes, we literally just finished a 6-week challenge. Kudos to everyone out there who finished your challenge and really, really pushed hard. And you guys worked really hard starting with the New Year's. But we just finished a 6-week challenge. I always see people see great results, right? They come in, they've lost body fat percentage, they've maintained their muscle mass, they've lost some weight. Some even put on some muscle mass as well too while trying to be in a deficit and lose some body fat, okay? What I've noticed though, every year after the challenge is over, I still have some of these same people coming back to me 6 weeks later, and either they've put the weight back on, they went in the opposite direction where they worked hard for 6 weeks, and then now all of a sudden they've backslid and fell into a bad routine, or just some of them don't know where to go next, okay? So what we want to focus on right now is how to create that routine, all right? Now, with all of that being said, let's zero in on a specific group here, okay? So maybe you guys are the person that resonates with episode 1, right? You found yourself looking in the mirror, like my guest, Stevie McBride. He had an awesome story. If you haven't checked that out, please go back and listen to the Hub podcast episode 1, What's Your Why? He literally got off work, got out of the shower, looked in the mirror, and just didn't like what he saw anymore. He had let himself get away from what he had been in college. Obviously with working and just life, how it catches up with you trying to make money, we tend to fall into this rut, right? So he decided it was time to make a change. Maybe you're the person that's not your story, but maybe you're the person that gets started, but you never quite finish. You know, you get started, you see a little bit of progress, and then after that, you just quit. You're just like, I'm done with that. I'm over it, okay? Or maybe you're the person that never just gets started at all. I don't know, okay? Whatever category you fit into, right now, I want to get into 3 key steps to help you get to the next level in your fitness journey, okay? But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a quick break and let's focus on a couple things here. Shameless plug, have to put myself into the podcast space. So again, I want to thank everyone who tuned in last week or 2 weeks ago, for episode 1, What's Your Why of the Hub podcast. It's continuing to expand, it's continuing to grow. However, I need your help a little bit. What I want you to do is, if you do listen to podcasts on Google Podcasts or Spotify, please tune into the Hub podcast. And then all you have to put is Dwayne right next to the Hub podcast, and you'll be able to find my link. You can follow the show. You can repost the show and also share the link. That will do me an extra solid and help some of your friends and family members who may need to hear this message get underneath this umbrella and start to hear what we have going on here, okay? If you're more of a social media person, I definitely have my YouTube page popping as well too. We have Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook all under the same moniker, Train with Dwayne, okay? Go ahead and give those a follow. If you see any information about the show, like, comment, and share. I always interact with those types of people and try to get as many questions, as much feedback from you guys as well too. Last but not least, if you have like direct questions or anything you need from me, trainwithdwayne@outlook.com is my email. Please send me direct questions. I love to answer you guys information or questions that you have. I sent a couple people the studies that we were talking about last week, and I'm pretty sure you guys will have more questions this week as well too, okay? So let's start with our 3 tips, all right, 3 to help you get into a better routine for yourself. And this could be for any level that you're at, whether you're a beginner, whether you're someone who's been in the game for a while, or you kind of jumped in and out. No matter what, I think this will fit everyone's level. So I'll try to pick out just the best 3 that I think work for everybody, okay? So first, create and write down a specific goal. Pause. Okay, now that we've paused, taking a second, let it breathe, okay? Let's start with some studies on good habits and some academic articles that I read. I cited a couple here. So first is the Harvard study that I read in regards to our habits and routines. So this is what shocked me. 83% of the population does not have any goal. 83% of 330 million people is a lot of people that have no goal, no direction, just kind of living how it is, just taking it day by day, right? Next, there's 14% of us that do have a plan. However, we never write that plan down. Okay. And I will even say for myself, a lot of times I have a lot of plans, but it's hard for me to follow through because I forget a lot. And I also have a lot of imagination and things that come into my mind. And we tend to just forget and let those things go. Okay. Now, this last group, 3% of people write down their plans and they actually put the goals into paper or on the board or on a vision board, whatever the case may be, okay? These people in that 3% group are 3 times more likely to succeed than the people in the 14% group, and 7 times more likely to succeed than the people that have no plans at all. So if you really want to succeed, first thing you need to do is put pen to paper and let's go ahead and write down specific goals, whether that's weight loss, weight gain, strength gain, want to be more flexible, better endurance, get more active, spend time with your kids, whatever the case may be. I don't care what the goal is, write it down. Okay, that's number 1. Okay, let's talk a little personal experience here. I have a client in mind. I just don't want to get in trouble and I don't want this person to be upset at me. But I remember in the beginning when we first started training, okay? When we first started, they were down for anything. They'd write everything down. They were taking copious notes. They were texting me all times of the day and night, which is not always good for your love life, but they were strictly just a client on a platonic level and they saw really great results, right? But then over time, what happens? We get stagnant, we get complacent, and we kind of fall off the wagon. And the results have kind of shown over the past, I'd say, few months that we're not All right, guys. Step number 3 is to commit by finding an accountability partner or a community that will hold you accountable to what you said you wanted to do long after you don't feel like doing it anymore. All right. Now, let's just talk about this for a second here. It's very difficult to find this. Okay. One, to find a really good accountability partner, meaning somebody that's aligned with the same goals as you, who's either on the same journey as you or been there before, or to find a great community. So people that are this and more, like not just one person, but many people that are just like this, right? It's really difficult to find those things. But one thing that I will say is the gym that I'm at now currently does a great job, whether it be the trainers, whether it's the owner, whether it's the members themselves, really, really trying to hone in on this principle right here, okay? So again, that 6-week challenge just passed. What I was able to see and witness for myself that I've known for a long time, but also just to see it actually in action is just great. People who really want to get to the next level, find that group that can keep them accountable, right? If you really want to take the next step to grow and level up, you really have to find people that are on that journey and that are going to push you the days when you don't feel like it, right? The days when you really just aren't in the mood to do it. Long after you, again, don't feel like how you felt when you set the goal, but you know that you still need to do it, okay? So what I noticed that these people did, in particular at the gym, that were successful, that were in these groups, they held each other accountable to make sure that they're showing up. Because honestly, that's 50% of the battle right there, right? The next thing they did, they really pushed for each other to do more than what they normally are capable of doing on their own. So I'm not saying that they were making these huge gains on like a squat day or a bench press day or anything like that. But if you know you can add 5 pounds, your partner's going to call you out about it and make you add that 5 pounds. And I've seen a lot of that for sure. And it really helped people get to the next level and take their fitness up to a place it hadn't been for them in a while. Okay. Another thing that I also see is that it helps them make good choices. So instead of talking about how much partying they're doing, how much drinking they're doing, what kind of foods they're eating that they know they shouldn't be eating, they're actually helping each other meal plan better, helping each other meal prep better, making sure that they're staying accountable to the same things that they said they were going to do. Last but not least, whether you want to admit it or not, sometimes you just need that person that you can vent to. A lot of them, when they get upset or frustrated, they keep each other encouraged, right? Also, too, when it gets hard or they get confused about something, they can go to the other members that have been through what they're going through, or come to ourselves as a staff and just say, hey, I have a question about this. How do I get past this particular issue? And I can't tell you how many clients listened to the advice, actually took it in, and actually made the next step to get a little bit better, okay? So shouts out to the Gym Rats family. I appreciate you guys. You guys are really putting this into practice, and I know there's plenty of gyms out there that are doing the same thing as well too, okay? So let's go ahead and one more shameless plug. Just remember my social media handle, Train with Dwayne, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, as well as on my YouTube page. I also have a video of the podcast there. Or if you like to listen to the podcast on Spotify or Google Podcasts, just type in The Hub Podcast, all capital letters for The Hub, and then type in my name, Dwayne, right after that. And you'll pop up there. You can also follow the page, and it'll show you and alert you every time I have a new episode. I plan on putting out episodes bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks, for you guys to enjoy and listen to, okay? Let's go ahead and put a bow on this thing to wrap everything up and summarize the episode. Obviously, habits and routines can be automatic, right? You can get into the day after day doldrums of just going through the motions, right? But if you really want to change, you really want to make some progress to get to the next level, we really have to put more thought into our habits and our routines, okay? So let's prune out the bad habits. Let's really focus in on a routine that works for us as well too. Episode 1, we really talked about motivation. Today, I feel like we started putting some nuts and bolts on this thing, and we started talking about the first battlefield, which is our habits and our routines, okay? So the 3 steps that I want you to take with you. Remember, step 1, write down a goal, a specific goal too. And even if you have to, break it down into smaller steps so that you can conquer that goal as well too. Number 2, rid yourself of whatever the bad habits are, step by step in a practical way, okay? And last but not least, number 3, get into community and find an accountability partner. I think those are the top 3 things that you can do to really take your fitness game to the next level. If you are listening to this right now, you're in my community, so I want to thank you for staying and listening to me blab for the last 30 minutes. God bless, and I hope you tune in next time as well too. This is Dwayne from the Hub Podcast, signing out. Take care.